Hello and welcome back to Not Another Mindset Show. Oh my goodness, guys. This is episode 4 of 6 that I am recording this week because I do the batch recording thing. And I just learned last night that when I batch recorded 6 episodes last month, because I'm doing this every 4 to 5 weeks, that 3 of those 6 that I batch recorded last month, those files have been lost. What? So the issue with this is that we use is it an app? It's a website called WeTransfer, because when I'm sending these large 4K video files to my video editor to edit, and then get up into YouTube, we use obviously the audio file for the podcast, etc. They're big files, so it takes a minute to upload it to WeTransfer, and then what happens is WeTransfer gives me a link. I give that link to my video guy. Hi, Isaiah. I'm telling the story. And I did not know that those links expire. I didn't know that was a thing to begin with. And I also didn't know that he was not downloading them right away or, within a couple weeks. And so we learned that these links expire after 30 days. And it's been 30 days. He had not downloaded 3 of the episodes from last month yet. And so he's sending me messages last night like, hey, can you give me a new link because the link expired? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. I can't because the link expired for me and for him. And also because these files are so big, after I transfer them over to him, I delete them. And then what's even more painful is that I literally just cleared my memory card because it was full. So I still would have had those files yesterday. It's literally like, oh my goodness. What is the reason? What is the reason for this, right? That's where I always come back to when stuff like this happens. It's not all falling apart. It's all coming together, my friends. So what's the reason? Maybe those 3 episodes, I really could have done better. So I'm getting a second chance. What's actually freaking hilarious is that one of those episodes, actually, if you've been listening to the podcast, you'll remember this. One of those episodes, actually, no, you won't remember it because that episode's gone. I have to re-record it today. We're recording 6 podcast episodes literally today. Send me all the good vibes in the past since you're listening to this, in freaking September, and it's currently July. Anyway, one of the episodes that we lost, I had already had to re-record, I think, one time in full and another time halfway through because there was something wrong with the microphone. And then there was something wrong with the camera. So I'm literally recording one of these episodes for a 4th time. Start a podcast, they said. It'll be fun. It'll be great for you. Oh my goodness gracious. But, we're getting more practice. And also this means that I get to go to my team and say, guys, I'm doing nothing else today but podcasting, so don't need me for anything. Literally. So we are just talking all day long today. That was my first thought was am I going to be able to actually speak for 6 episodes worth of speaking in a day? What is my voice going to sound like by episode 6? We're about to find out. We are about to find out. So this is funny because the episode I have on the docket for today to chat with you about is stress relief. And to be honest, I'm not stressed about this. When I found out last night, not gonna lie, there was a minute of literally, what the fuck? What the fuck? I have to redo 3 of them. And then of course I have the thoughts of well, I'm just not going to do them then. Those are just topics that aren't going to get talked about. But that's silly too, right? Because I already have the notes mapped out for them. I can just sit down and do it again. And hopefully, what's really annoying though is this was a month ago. So it's not I have it fresh in my mind of oh, I can sit down and just do it again and say the things that I just said, maybe even better because it was a month ago. I don't know. It's basically just doing it for the first time again. Anyway, but we're talking about why I don't like most stress relief types of content. And that's not to say that I don't like stress relief options, right? Different things that people do for stress relief. What I don't love is like the blanket tips for stress relief type of posts that I see mainly on Instagram, because I don't really consume content other places. My friends send me TikToks all the time, and I'm like, remember, I don't go on TikTok. What's funny is that you guys are probably like, but wait, Casey, you have a TikTok account. In fact, there's two of me because someone else is like impersonating me on TikTok. They threw like an underscore after Coach Casey Joe is my TikTok username. It's my username on Instagram too. And they just put an underscore after Coach Casey Joe. And the thing is, because I literally don't go on TikTok. When I tell you I literally don't go on TikTok. So I didn't even know this was a thing. And so people were following that fake account and like sharing stuff from that fake account, because that fake account literally just stole everything from my main account. And we can't get it taken down. Like this person is just continues to go. I think they have like 10,000 followers or something. So there's two of me. This other person is literally just copying and pasting, copying and re-uploading the content that I have on my TikTok, which by the way is my team just repurposing the reels from Instagram. Anyway, that was a really long tangent. So if you have the time or have it in you, look up Coach Casey Joe on TikTok with an underscore and go and report that account, please. If you care to. Honestly, like we've all tried a lot and it's not going anywhere. So anyway, stress relief advice on TikTok. I don't really know. I can't speak to it because I'm not on there, even though it seems like I'm on there twice. I'm doubly on there, but I'm really not actually opening the app myself ever. And mostly on, oh my gosh, I feel like Pinterest can be pretty bad for this too. Just like blanket stress relief posts. And why I don't really love them to begin with is, gosh, it's just kind of like a lazy way of making content anyway, but it really promotes this idea that stress must be something bad and something that we have to get rid of. It's this perspective of you need relief from all of this stress always. Whenever, like literally ever, do you see content made about how stress can actually be beneficial? That there's actually maybe some good parts to stress. And this is not me saying that like promoting hustle culture or working yourself into the ground or adding more to your plate than you think you can manage, and that like stress is a good thing. Like go out there and be a stress cadet. Like, no, actually, I just got off the phone with my doctor and we were celebrating the fact that my cortisol levels have actually come down. So there is something to be said of like having a healthy amount of stress, but not too much stress. There's actually, maybe we'll have Isaiah throw this post up on the YouTube screen for those of you that are watching. I made this post a long time ago. It's a graphic of essentially the curve of the stress response and like at what point it becomes a more negative thing. But to some degree, some level of stress is actually really helpful from a like performance, productivity type of perspective. Once you make it over the other side of the curve and kind of make your weight going down, like it's too much stress, that's where we start to see maybe some more like detriments, right? But then there's the other side of the curve too, where you could probably stand to use a little bit more stress. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is that these blanket, like, here's like 5 tips for stress relief, or like, here's how to reduce your stress, or like, stress is bad, here's how to make it go away. Like that type of content really is like not that productive, because it's doing is creating this perspective that stress is bad all of the time. And the thing that you should be doing all of the time is trying to get rid of it, which is not necessarily the case. And like, stress management, I guess, is like almost a better way to look at it, which I know that word's used too, like how do you manage your stress better? But why are we just constantly demonizing stress when it's also something that is quite prevalent in our lives, right? And to some degree, I know I've mentioned this on previous episodes, and now I'm like, was that one of the episodes that we lost? And so I actually didn't mention it. Like, I don't know at this point. I'm getting like lost in the sauce of all of the different episodes and what's missing and what's not. But speaking of stress and cortisol, and there's such a huge surge of this on social media right now, and like how cortisol's like the demon of the world, right? Like, why is that? And again, like I just said, celebrating the fact that I've brought some of my cortisol levels down, but a healthy stress response and having cortisol is actually really a good thing. And so the fact that we're constantly demonizing it, I don't love, because what this is doing is creating a fixed mindset in people when it comes to how we view stress, that stress equals bad. And then that's the extent of it, right? Like that is what it is. And we should be trying to avoid it at all costs. We should be relieving ourselves from it, managing it, etc. And I just wonder if, and again, this is not me like promoting stressful lifestyles. Like, please don't twist it that direction, because I know the internet likes to do those things. I wonder if we were to reframe how we see stress and instead view it as something that could actually maybe be leveraged to our advantage. Or maybe stress is not necessarily this like bad thing that must be avoided all the time, but when we feel stress, we just notice it and go, oh, that's something to pay attention to. Why am I feeling this way? Why is this particular instance making me feel more stressed than usual? And actually, this missing podcast episode situation for me is a really good example of this, because when I learned of this information last night, the first reaction I had, like I said, was just like, what the fuck? Like, really? Like, definitely got upset for a full 60 seconds there. But then it became like, okay, what are the next steps? And what does this mean? And I know I had already said that on this podcast, but that's truly where my brain goes first. Like, what does this mean? Where did this come from? Like, why did this happen? And that can feel a little bit like woo woo, like there's a reason for everything, right? But it can actually, speaking of managing stress, if you truly believe that everything happens for a reason, right? If we're going to go that direction, then it becomes that when you do feel stressed out or you have these like negative situations, that you can live with it in a better way, right? You can accept it. You can accept it for what it is and then move forward in a better way than you would have otherwise. So for me, in this situation, it became like, okay, give myself 60 seconds to be like pissed off and stomp my feet. And now it's like, okay, well, what's the next steps? Like, what are my options here? Options are that like we just scrap it. Those 3 episodes don't exist. They're not happening. And now we're 3 episodes behind. And then I still have to come up with 3 more episodes, right? Or I could sit down and re-record them, and chances are I'm going to do it better this time, especially that one that I've now going to be recording like 4 times. I think it's the Smarter Goals episode. So once at this point, because this is episode 18 and that will probably get replaced earlier, if you've listened to the Smarter Goals episode, just know that one was done like 17 times. I mean, I will probably say that at the beginning of the episode when I re-record it. But anywho, if we were able to take stressful situations in stride and learn to accept that stuff like this is going to happen, maybe there's a reason that it did happen, and that reason is actually going to benefit us in the future. It's something we can't see right now. If you can sit in that place and reframe it in that way, it is going to bring your stress levels down. You're going to feel more at ease, more at peace, turn on that parasympathetic response versus that really hyped up sympathetic nervous system response. And there's so many benefits to this. It's not only going to make you feel better in the moment, but it's going to make you perform better going forward because your stress levels aren't skyrocketing. They're maybe just at like a healthy level. But it's really hard to do this and to get into this perspective and do this reframing if you are of the belief that stress is bad and stress needs to be gotten rid of. You need to get rid of stress. We need to be rid of it. Like that's your main goal is get rid of stress. Stress is bad. It's going to be hard to get into that different mindset where the belief is that this could actually be a good thing. It's just interesting. And we don't see enough content like that. It's just go take a bubble bath, go for a walk, get off computer screens, talk to a friend, call your mom, do box breathing. Like that's what the stress management content is out there. And I don't love it. I really don't love it. I think there's so much more to the conversation. And a big part of it is your mindset. And if you can shift how you perceive stress, then I even am wondering, do you need the freaking bubble bath in the first place? You know? I really think our focus should be more on helping people think differently about stress rather than encouraging the bubble baths. And that's my very biased opinion as a mindset researcher, but I just can't help but wonder if everyone were to be in a place of stress is something that we need to monitor, and if it gets too high, that's an issue, but also a little bit of it is going to help me with my performance and activity, then what would that look like? You know, what would it look like if everyone just thought about stress differently rather than constantly trying to make it go away? And that's what I will leave you to ponder on. I actually think this might be the shortest episode I've ever done, but my goal really was with this podcast is to have like some 15-minute episodes, 20 minutes, like max 40 minutes. And they've all been a little bit closer to the 40-minute mark. And also part of it might be the fact that I know I have to record 6 episodes today, and I'm not going to lie about that. So I am happy to end this one here. And if you have any thoughts or opinions about stress, like people's perceptions of stress really is what we're talking about here. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let's chat about it. Or if maybe you felt similar sentiments of like, I just feel like stress is constantly talked about in this negative light, and I'm not sure that's actually doing anything. I'd love to chat with you about it. I really, really would. I've been loving the discussions that I've had with podcast listeners in my DMs. It's been great. So thank you to those of you who have reached out. And that is all I have for you. So we'll see you next time, and I appreciate you listening.